Have you proven God to yourself? Have you ever proven God to yourself? A lot of people are waiting for God to prove himself to them. A lot of people have been waiting for years. They're waiting for God to prove himself to them. And God is not going to prove himself to nobody. The scriptures say, you prove it. Do you believe a certain thing? Prove it. Once you prove it to yourself, you're going to believe God even more. Once you apply God's system and prove it to yourself, you're going to believe it even more. You prove it. Now let me tell you something. Years ago, it's been almost 7 years now, I started talking about God's system. And there was a guy who told me that what I'm talking about is not going to work. He said, what's going to happen is you're going to go, I think he said 2 or 3 months. He said in 2 or 3 months, everything that you were believing for is going to come crashing down, and you'll lose everything, and you'll see that it was nothing to what you were calling God's system. Now here I am, almost 7 years later, and I'm still here. I'm still saying God's system works. I'm still saying God's design is the truth. I'm still proving God's system to myself and others. Now, years ago, when all of this started, one of the first things that happened was my job ended. After 1 full year of activating God's system in my own life, my job ended. I had the opportunity to move further or move to a different part of the company and make $5 more an hour. I would have been making over $25 an hour. But because I knew God's system was real, because I had proven God's system to myself, I said, you know what? I'm just going to leave the company. I'm just going to run this business that God gave me to run. Okay, what happened? A lot of people already know. The business blew up, making more money than I ever made in my life, because I stepped out trusting and believing in God's system, and there's the results. So then, of course, you go on and different things happen, because God's system don't stop life from happening. So I ended up, I know I told y'all one time I had bought this truck for my business, and I didn't have the money at the time to pay a truck note, but I knew God was telling me to go ahead on and buy this truck. And God spoke it through my pastor, Pastor Cochran. It's time for you to get a truck. So I went and bought the truck. I didn't need to know how I was going to make the monthly payment, because guess what? It don't matter. Following God's system, you just do what God says do. That was less than 3 years ago. I paid the truck off last week because God's system works. God's system is the truth. Now, I'm in another situation. A few months ago, because of all of this foolishness that's going on, I guess, my wife lost her job. Do you think I'm worried about my wife losing her job? I don't care. Now, every day when I get done and I go home, my wife at the house. I ain't got to wait till 5 o'clock for my wife to get done and come home. When I get home, my wife waiting on me. I love it. What about the money your wife was making? I don't care about no money. God's system is better than money. God's system is better than your job. God's system is better than whatever it is you're living by outside of the truth. So we haven't skipped a beat. I'm still doing the same thing. She filed for unemployment, didn't get a dime of unemployment. Does it matter? No. Because we're proving God's system. Now here it is. In order for you to operate in God's system and live by God's design, you are going to have to drop everything you know and do what the word says to do. The word says to trust. Drop everything you know and trust. The word says believe. Drop everything you know and believe. The word says give. Forget it. Give. And you will prove to yourself that there is nothing like God's system. Now I'm going to give you 3 aspects of God's system. Believe it, speak it, and you'll see it. Believe it, speak it, and you'll see it. Now here's the problem. Here's the problem. I've been seeing it for years, and I used to have this problem myself. You cannot expect to see something in your life that you won't speak. You're not bold enough to speak it, but you think you're going to see it. No, you're not. Here's another problem. You can't be out here speaking stuff because you want to see it, but you don't believe it. Why are you speaking something that you don't even believe? I told you a couple of weeks ago, you cannot fool wisdom. Wisdom knows whether you believe it or not. So don't speak something that you don't believe, and don't expect to see something that you don't speak. You're going to have to get somewhere and sit down and think and get to a point to where you really believe God will bless you. When you really believe God will bless you, start speaking it, and you will see it. When you really believe that God is a healer, you'll start speaking healing over your body, and you'll see yourself be healed. When you really get to a point where you believe that God will bless you financially, you'll start speaking it out of your mouth, and you will see your finances get better. When you really start believing that God will bless your business, you will speak out of your mouth blessings over your own business, and you will see your business blow up. Believe it, speak it, and see it. That's how you activate God's proven system.